an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 3, Episode 13, The Last of the Time Lords. In this episode, you guys, this may have been, in my opinion, one of the worst episodes of television I've ever seen. This was so very bad that I am retroactively judging all of you for encouraging me to cover this show. And y'all better work to get me on board again, because I just, y'all, he's a little fucking CGI Voldemort baby. And then he is a Jesus Christ Force ghost, fucking resurrected via the power of prayer. And I cannot do this again. Don't do this to me again. Ever. Okay? Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
This is actually listed as episode 14 on Amazon. I was going by the 13, which is the proper episode number.
I didn't even notice you said that.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. Nothing about this matters or ever will. I hate it, and I just want to kind of pretend it never happened and not even record on it and just move on with my life. But here we are.
I mean, full disclosure, I did mention this to you off air, that I've never really liked these last few episodes of this season, and to be completely honest, as much as I like Martha, I've never really loved most of the episodes in this entire season.
That's like what's so sad, I think. That's really where I'm feeling this way. Sort of how I said last episode, which is just that they had so much to work with and they just totally squandered it, and I'm just angry about it.
Yeah, I just feel like, I texted it to you, I just always felt like season 3 was kind of a dud. Mm-hmm. And it does get better for sure. I just don't understand, like, every time I go back and rewatch, other than Blink, there's really nothing in season 3 that makes me like, oh, I really want to watch that particular episode.
Right.
And when I did a rewatch earlier, after we started doing this, and I wanted to go ahead and just make sure I didn't accidentally give any spoilers out, because it's been a while, getting through these episodes, I was like, oh, God. And then I have to watch them again when we record. So I'm like...
You don't have to do this to yourself, Jamie. I
do, because otherwise I don't forget. I'll forget, like, details, so I rewatch and pay close attention, or sometimes not very close attention, apparently, because you point things out that I didn't even notice. But
it happens to the best of us. It's fine.
It's just a lackluster season, and I feel bad for Freema because she's a great actress and was just not given great stuff to work with.
Yeah, boy howdy, she sure wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel... I loved her so much when we first met her, and I loved how smart she was, and I love the fact that, like, it felt that was going to really matter, and then it just... I don't know what the hell is going on.
It's like...
Oh, guys.
It's like the beginning, you're right, because Smith and Jones is actually a really great episode. I love that one. I love them being, taken to the moon and the crazy rhinoceros guys, and she is so engaging and smart and fun right from the start. And then it's like they kind of forgot about that and made her this like moony, like, all about how she feels about the Doctor and this crush she has on the Doctor, and that remained to be the only thing about her personality.
Yeah.
That she has a family that she cares about, and she is instantly in love with the Doctor, and they didn't give her anything else. Mm-hmm. And then you get this episode where she's actually a doctor, and she gets to say that, like, hey, I've been studying all this time to become a doctor, and maybe I should do something with that. Mm-hmm. And she gets to do something pretty great until it's just that she's been walking around telling stories.
Yeah.
Like, I guess.
Yeah.
Martha deserved better.
Yeah, that's going to be my hashtag for this fucking whole season. I'm so angry, you guys. I'm so mad. Like, y'all should have seen my face when I was watching this yesterday. I texted Owen, and I'm gonna screenshot this and give it to you to use as the banner image in the group for this week.
Okay.
But it's me texting him, babe, why do people like this? And he wrote back, LOL, the whimsy. And I just sent him back this picture of this Bitmoji of me being really, really sad and disgusted.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed John Sims' performance much more than I did in the past because I have embraced my love of camp. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, there was not a lot of there.
The thing is that I have no problem with camp if it feels like the show is, like, committed to that. But Doctor Who is so inconsistent about whether it wants to be campy or not that I can't ever get fully on board, because as soon as I have, they sort of pull the rug out from under me with a different thing. And, you know, then I have to readjust what I thought this was, and then they go back. So it's like, I just want there to be something consistent that I can get behind. And I don't really know if they know, you know, maybe in later seasons it feels like they get a better grip on this. But at this point, it seems like they're sort of deciding still what the show is supposed to be. And they don't even really know what they want to do with it. Or that there's too many fucking cooks and everybody has a different, like, point of view and they're all trying to fit their shit into the same episode.
I don't know what it is. There seems to be, like, giant holes in, like, the overall story idea. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it just keeps happening. And I feel like in this season it happened more often. Like, it happened on occasion, and maybe it's a Russell T Davies thing. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I will have to, because I wasn't, like, hyper-analyzing the show before. I can't say if that doesn't happen in later seasons when there's a different showrunner. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But I do feel like in this season, they didn't know what their mission statement was for the season. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of meandered. Mm-hmm. Like, they knew they wanted to get to the Master. They knew they wanted to, you know, You Are Not Alone thing was right from the start. Mm-hmm. But there's a whole lot in here where I'm like, that's just a forgettable episode, and I literally forgot it existed.
Yeah. I just, like, what you said, like, there are holes in the story. That's really, that's the main, like, disorientation that I had with this episode also. It's been true of the whole season, but this one and the last one are the ones that feel like, are there whole scenes on the cutting room floor that explain stuff that they just didn't decide to include? Like, the abrupt start of the last episode where they just got away from all of the, like, future people. Mm-hmm. And that was just completely hand-waved. And then again, when this one starts, I have no problem with jumping ahead in time and then explaining what happened. That's fine. That's a valid storytelling device, and sometimes can be really, really interesting. But when you have a show that has jumped around as much as this one has, I don't have the patience when you start an episode like that again, because I already feel like I don't know what's happening. And
Yeah.
now you're choosing again to change the timeline of where we are and what's going on. It starts off 1 year later. I just like right from the fucking opening frame when it says 1 year later had thrown my hands up and was like, are you serious? Like, we can't even just stay within the timeline that we have been given. Yet again, they've jumped around in time within the last 4 episodes, like 12 times. And I know that's the point of the show, but you gotta have something solid.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and then they talk about how he, and even I, don't really understand what exactly the point was.
What does the master want? Right?
I know, yeah. Like, the master wants to hurt the doctor, clearly. He wants to win. But what is the point of taking this woman to the end of the universe and then back?
Mm-hmm.
You can only go... It's like... Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Only the first season.
Okay. Well, there's a character in later seasons. She's an Inhuman. And her power, she's called Yo-Yo. She can... As fast as she can move in a heartbeat. But then she snaps back to where she started. So she can run super, super fast or move super fast, but only accomplish what she can accomplish in that heartbeat. And then she snaps back like a rubber band. So they call her Yo-Yo. That's what I feel like this thing was. That he can go only to that point in time where he stole the TARDIS. And then back to this point in time where the TARDIS... when the doctor like locked its controls or whatever, so it could only go back to the last place it had been. He can't travel around.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, but then what's the point of taking her and showing her this and then coming back and like trying to world domination?
Right.
Like, please explain to me what that's about. Also explain to me why all of a sudden she is like a zombie.
A zombie?
Like, she's like fearful and compliant and like not as into his whole plan as she was in the last episode.
Right, yeah.
So explain that to me. What's going on with her?
Mm-hmm.
Why does she suddenly like so against you?
Yeah, I really wish that if like we could have just not gone into the future and we could have just had the reveal that Mr. Saxon is a fucking Time Lord.
Right.
Like, just don't travel to the future at all. Just have that be a thing that we find out. From, like, that journey didn't matter, it doesn't seem, at all.
Except that we had to understand that there were all these humans at the end of the universe that were put on a giant rocket ship that was supposed to go to a place called Utopia. And instead, they all got shoved into little robot balls, and now they are the Toclafane.
Listen, I have no fucking idea what that is supposed to be.
I don't either!
What were they thinking with this?
When you realize what it is, it's gonna break your heart. Oh, so he shoved human faces into these metal spheres with knives? And now what's their point? If they kill all the humans, they knock each other, they like eradicate themselves. This is the paradox. None of it makes sense.
No.
It's just not a well thought out plan. None of it. The whole story had no like solid outline to work with. So it's like they literally were just throwing things at a dartboard and being like, what do we land on? Oh, human heads inside spheres. Cool.
Like, that's also a huge undermine to the fucking threat of the Master. You can't have the Master doing this goofy shit. Like, he can be goofy. He can be a Joker-esque villain that's prancing around, laughing hysterically at other people's pain, and that's totally a valid thing. But you can't have his plan make next to no sense and still have me be afraid of him. I am not worried about this guy at all. And the fucking, like, conflict with the Doctor and him being the last Time Lord and I really want to keep you alive and whatever, I don't fucking care by then.
Right.
Just,
They would have been better off spending the entire season not just mentioning this Saxon guy as an undercurrent, but having us continually coming up against him in some way or another so that he's somebody we know. And then when it is revealed that he's actually a Time Lord and why the Doctor hasn't been able to recognize that in him because of this, like, psychic field thing that he is instrumented. Like, it just, instead of us hearing about, like, oh, for the last 18 months he's been orchestrating this plan, I know they don't want Doctor Who to, like, stay on Earth every episode, but he's been back enough. He and Martha have been there enough that they could have dealt with, like, what is going on with this Saxon guy?
Right.
Like, build up the suspense of, like, he's up to something. What's he up to? Maybe it has something to do with Torchwood. Oh, now we know that Torchwood exists again because Jack, but that's not what Saxon's up to. What is Saxon up to? And then when you figure it out, it's like, oh my God.
Right.
But they didn't, I don't know. They didn't plan that out, and maybe we should write the show.
And I'm just like, now, when you say, I know that they didn't want the Doctor on Earth for too long, and I feel like that's part of the problem. Is that they're so caught up in, like, the gimmick of what the Doctor can do and wanting to constantly, like, take advantage of the opportunity to, like, show off these creatures and these worlds and whatever, that they totally lose sight of the fact that they're trying to tell a story that we're allegedly supposed to give a shit about. So y'all can stay in one place, especially, this is basically a 3-episode long finale. Yeah. Go ahead and stay in one place. This is all part of one story. It would have been fine. Nobody's going to fault you for this.
Yeah, it could have all taken place in the last 18 months building up to this then.
Yeah,
And I would have even been fine with the fast forward of time in that case.
Exactly. Because you are grounded in something, which is at least the location. So you can mess around with other shit. But you can't mess around with literally every single aspect of this, or else nothing fucking matters.
Yeah, and I think that's why these episodes never made any kind of impact for me, and how I just never cared about the conflict with the Master, or, you know, like, I cry at fucking everything, and I cry when David Tennant cries most of the time, and this still has no impact on me.
Yeah.
Where he's so upset, and I'm like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, right. I was, like, so disgusted by that point. That all I could think while I was watching that scene was, fucking poor David trying to make something out of this. Jesus, he must have, like, did he like this as he was doing it? Did he feel like this was working? Like, I was just thinking about that aspect of it the whole time and not in the moment with the story at all. It was completely me watching the sad production of something that was doomed to fail.
Is that the question I should ask at the David Tennant Q&A?
Yeah, ask him why, how does he get through a script when it really fucking sucks? That's what I want to know, David. How do you make yourself cry when you know this doesn't matter and it sucks, and 10 years later everybody's going to be like, oh, God, yeah, that's a rough one when I mention the episode.
Yeah. I might not ask him that.
Oh, God. Poor David. I'm sorry, dude. Like, he did the best he can. It's not like his acting is like... And it's not even him, half of it, because he's a fucking weird CGI
I know, I thought about
baby.
that, too. I was like, what was David Tennant doing when we had this, like, big-eyed Birdman version of the Doctor?
I hate it so much. What is that?
I hate
he
it,
says,
too.
like, I'm going to take away your power to regenerate. And then does that to him.
He, like, made his body have all the years. All 900 years. And I guess that turns him into Yoda? Mixed with a bird? Mixed with Voldemort, baby?
I don't understand how that takes away his regenerative powers.
It doesn't.
That doesn't, like, he says that, but then it doesn't seem like what he did.
No, he just made him super old. He made him have all 900 years.
I don't get it, Jamie.
I don't either. I'm telling you. There's... I honestly, like... And I wasn't looking forward to these, and then I ended up enjoying the last episode because I was like, man, John Sim is just having the time of his life right now.
Yeah.
Which is really fun to watch, but that was literally the only part of that episode that I liked. And in this, he's fine. He's not nearly as fun as he was in the last episode. And then I liked some of the Martha stuff. I liked Tom. He was nice.
Who's Tom? Oh,
he's the
guy
guy
that she kind of likes who dies.
Yeah. But I'm sure it gets overturned because everybody goes back in time.
Oh, right.
He's also Tatiana Maslany's boyfriend.
Oh, go on, girl.
And he's in that show Luther, Luther? No, wrong one. Lucifer, totally different thing.
Oh my God, are they ever?
Totally different shows. Luther is Idris Elba.
That is so funny.
Yeah, he's that Lucifer show that was on Fox. That's now Netflix, I think.
Oh, right, because they got picked up. It got the Brooklyn Nine-Nine treatment.
I watched the first episode because that guy's hot, but then I was like, ugh,
yeah,
no, I'm not watching this.
Yeah, I feel like Martha liking any guy is basically doomed to him dying.
I think it gets reversed, though. They don't show us, but I assume because everything that seemingly happened because of the Master when they speed back in time somehow and don't explain how that works.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody reset where they were. So I guess it brought back that 1/10 of the population that was decimated.
I forgot about the speeding back and that they don't explain that at all. I guess we're supposed to think his actual life was somehow connected to the paradox machine functioning.
I don't know. It's not explained, and it was at the point. There were 2 points that got me to making the post I made in the Whovian group about how I was pretty sure you're going to hate this. It was everybody thinking the word doctor and that making the doctor become the doctor again. And then the speeding back in time. Those 2 parts I was like, all right, yeah, this isn't great and she's going to hate this.
Yep.
And it's partially because I don't like it either, to an extreme of I can't even come up with ways to forgive it and justify it to you. It's just not good. It's a huge disappointment because I feel like they wasted a lot of really good actors too.
So much. They wasted really good actors. I had said that I suspected he wasn't the last Time Lord a while back and had been low-key waiting for that to be a thing, and then it just is just... And then to have
you seen that cat video where the cat jumps off of a balcony and spreads its legs out and then just falls straight down?
Yes.
That's what this feels like.
Oh God, it does. That poor cat.
I know. I feel bad every time I watch it and laugh. It's funny.
Yeah, it just, all of the buildup of things that I had theorized on and the Saxon thing. And also, how is he this subtle and shady so early in the episode, or in the season, but then he turns into this bombastic lunatic? They feel like the works of 2 totally different people.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's hard to have an answer for that because we never saw him.
And like you said, his companion, what is going on? She shoots him, and I'm assuming that was to put him out of his misery because he was about to be imprisoned for eternity. But it could be read that he secretly hated him and wanted him dead and didn't have the ability to do anything about it this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea.
Right, because it's not explained.
Guys. All right. How do you want to approach this? Because we just went off in general about how much we hate most of this episode and talked about most of it already.
I don't know. There's not that much we didn't touch on. The stuff with the professor that Martha and Tom go to see and how they figure out what these little creatures are. Mm-hmm. Were you disappointed that it was not a little tiny baby Dalek inside an egg?
I was not only disappointed that it wasn't a baby Dalek, but totally unmoved that it was a human. Like,
Right?
because it's not, it doesn't feel like a human. She's like, why are you killing us? And he's like, 'cause it's fun.
Yeah.
Which just, if they were at least like, oh yeah, we are imprisoned in this terrible thing and he's using us for his own purposes and you guys sent us to this terrible fate. But they've instead made it so that these things are like kind of enjoying what's been done to them despite themselves. Like, that starts off with an accusation, but then like one of them chimes in with like, we're so pretty now. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So there's, if it had been like this is a torment that we have been consigned to because you all did such and such, even that I think I would have like cared a little bit more and been more horrified. But because they just decided to make them these like gleeful little gremlins, I don't care. Go ahead and kill them. Like,
Tom like shoots it in the face.
oh my God. And the line where she's like, that's why I'm here. Know your enemy. I mean, I 100% was like, oh, okay. So this is a bad person. Like, obviously that's a signal that this is actually like somebody you can't trust talking to, that she's talking to. Mm-hmm. And then that's played as this big reveal. And I was just like, come on, we all know that. One thing I will say is that this gun that has 4 chemicals that will kill a Time Lord, I'm delighted that that was not real. But at the same time, the absolute fucking gall it takes to write a script like this and then have her mocking that gun concept as ludicrous and how could you believe that to the master is the kind of gumption I cannot believe. Like, you have every single plot device and ridiculous contrivancy I can think of in this one episode, but you're all going to pretend that one gun with the 4 chemicals was just a bridge too far and that you should have known better? That's the one you're going to try and act like is ridiculous. But we have a bird cage over here with a tiny little doctor baby with giant mournful eyes watching this whole scene, and that's fine. How could you believe this gun thing, you moron? Mm-mm.
Which goes back to my thing about my apparently incorrect understanding that the Doctor never uses a gun. It's like, well, yeah, the gun idea is ridiculous. The Doctor never uses a gun, but that's a new thing in
right.
Doctor Who lore. So for people who understood the relationship between the Doctor and the Master from the history of Doctor Who, and understood that at some point in the Doctor's history, he did not have a problem wielding a gun. Maybe it's believable. But to me, I'm like, well, duh. Like, why would the Doctor come up with a gun? He doesn't use guns.
Yeah.
He's against that kind of violence. So yeah, the Master is pretty stupid to think that. And then it turns out I'm pretty stupid to think it because I didn't watch the old stuff. When the Doctor apparently was cool with guns.
I like how that
know.
sentence could be taken any number of ways. When apparently the Doctor was cool with guns, or apparently, evidently the Doctor was cool with guns.
He was James Bondy back then, and now he's just, I don't know.
He had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth and 2 Tommy guns. Yeah, okay, yeah. So it turns out that they're like holding her son hostage in exchange for information. The usual, like, I don't want to be a snitch, but my family, whatever. The whole setup of this world where he's built a bunch of, like, statues of himself.
He even carved himself into Mount Rushmore.
Like...
And then he's got all these rockets because he's planning on waging war with the universe?
Like, guys... I can't.
Question mark?
Every time you bring up a new thing, I'm like, oh, right, that was real stupid, too. There is so much about this that is ludicrous.
Wait, there's even more. So he dies. He decides he's not going to regenerate. And he dies.
Right.
And the doctor burns him. But then someone picks up this ring that I don't even remember seeing him wearing before.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
Is his soul inside that ring?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, am I supposed to infer something from this based on old Doctor Who? Because based on this Doctor Who, I don't know what that
meaningless.
means.
Yeah.
What's happening here? Is he dead? Is his soul inside of that ring? Who was it that was picking that up? I think those are the questions they want us to ask, is who was that picking that ring up? But
I'm sorry. I don't even recall the scene you're mentioning because I was so
really?
checked out by that point that
it's right towards the end.
that makes
It's
sense.
like after there's like a weird little montage kind of thing. You see his body burn.
Right.
And then I think
It's after his body burns, they go say goodbye to Jack, and then the doctor says goodbye to Martha.
Yeah.
Is it before that?
It's after he says goodbye to Jack and Martha.
Okay.
And so the last thing we see this woman's hand pick up this ring and hear the Master's laugh happening in the background, apparently. And then the next thing we see is the Doctor on the TARDIS right before the Titanic hits it.
I'm watching this moment because, the fire is burning, the pyre is burned down. And there's the ring. Distant laughter. And, it's definitely a woman's hand because it's all painted nails, and boys don't wear nail polish.
That's sexist.
I completely missed that. That was such a short moment that I, totally checked out and did not see that at all.
Do you want to talk about Jack?
Sure.
And who Jack actually is?
Yeah. So that was the one thing that was fun. I liked that. I liked it not even just because
only thing.
What's that?
That was the only thing in this episode that I ever remembered caring about or liking, was learning that Jack was the face of Bo.
Yeah.
Because I'd always had this weird love for the face of Bo, and to find out that it's Jack, who I also love, I was like, oh my god!
Yeah, I liked it not just because of what it is, but because of the acting in the scene. You know, when he says that and, walks away, and then the Doctor and Martha are just standing there looking, and Martha has this almost horrified expression and hits the Doctor on the arm and is like, and then no, definitely not, no. That moment was the purest and best acting of this episode, and the only thing that felt like real, like people, like human beings acting the way human beings behave.
Also, having this reveal, it makes you go back and think about the things that the face of Bo actually said to the Doctor. And you understand a little bit better, he would know these things.
Right.
Because he experienced them with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, what the hell was the deal with fucking Martha's mom and sister wearing the maid uniforms?
I think that the Master was trying to humiliate them by forcing them to be servants.
I hated it so much.
Yeah.
And, I get that it's supposed to be well, he's terrible, and he's, you should hate it, that's the point. But, it didn't feel that way. It just felt gross and ugly, Just,
Yeah.
And not only is it him, apparently trying to humiliate them, but the whole thing, I thought, was him trying to lure Martha in someplace because of her family. And honestly, they would have wound up here whether the family was even involved or not.
Yeah.
The family had no bearing on the plot, really, in the end, at all. That I can decipher.
No.
It just...
They were just a device to make us think that he by him holding them hostage, essentially, that Martha was eventually going to try to come back and save them, but she would have done the exact same thing for the doctor.
Totally. Yeah,
So,
I don't really understand
yeah,
the, luring her sister into work for him in the first place.
Right. It's another instance of if we'd had a full season where this guy's the big bad and we're seeing all of his machinations,
Mm-hmm.
it maybe would have made more sense. And like, say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they have a big bad every season, there's stuff that deals with the big bad, but then there's all kinds of stuff that just deals with the monster of the week. It's totally possible to do it that way and still end up in the place you want to end up in.
And it was kind of weird because it seemed like that's what they were going to do with the Lazarus experiment, because it was not directly related to Saxon, but his name came up a couple times. That's sort of what I thought we were doing. And then that's just not, they tried to sort of be like, oh no, well he helped fund that and bring it into existence just to use it as a weapon against the doctor. And when the doctor can regenerate and doesn't age the same way as regular people, using something like that as a weapon against him is particularly nonsensical.
Yeah.
Especially when you're going to be like, oh, I'm taking away the ability to regenerate, but then it expressly seems that that's not what you did. What even was that dialogue? Why include it at all?
I would have to do a little bit of research, which I'm not going to do while we're recording because, as you know, I get distracted if I start reading stuff while we're recording. But I want to know if there's anything written anywhere about why they decided to go with the angle of having a CGI doctor. Did David Tennant need some time off? What was the purpose? Because they could have just made him look older and older and older with makeup. Mm-hmm. Or done something else. Done something else.
Really,
so that it's not
the
just this little tiny bird man in a bird cage.
Can't believe that.
With the giant eyes. Yeah. I hated that too.
Y'all, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then he gets brought back because Martha hijacked Archangel and got people to say the doctor's name all at the same time.
But they don't explain how she orchestrated it so that every single person in the world would think about... I mean, we get that she went around and was telling these stories about this man named the Doctor who saved your lives hundreds of times and you don't even know it. Get that. But where was the instruction at this moment on this day? Everybody think about the Doctor, and it will... Because these satellites have hijacked the, psychic field and are keeping you scared with this... telepathic, subliminal messaging. How we need to use that against the Doctor, or against the Master, is to think about the Doctor and make him strong again.
Right.
Well, how did they know?
I don't know how they knew what the countdown was.
Use the countdown. But why do they know what the countdown is for?
Yeah.
All these people are now... Apparently, all of the human race are slaves, packed into, houses, 100 people to a house or whatever. But slaves doing what? Building the rockets?
I guess.
All of them? Carving these statues? What are they slaves?
They're all just fucking sculptors now.
What are they doing? And why aren't they rebelling? I guess because they're afraid of getting shot by spheres? But, no. I don't have answers because they're unanswerable questions.
And I know that I made fun of these, perception thingies last episode, but I'm going to do it again. It's a key on a piece of cord.
It's a key to the TARDIS.
It's just a little bit I just had this in a drawer. I know it's the key to the TARDIS, but also, this feels very much like an invented thing that Troy and Abed would have used in their Imaginarium. That, like, I have a thing that keeps them from detecting. Inspector Spacetime. Yes.
Yeah.
Hurry, we haven't much space. Oh, damn.
I miss Troy and Abed.
Yeah, me too.
That show just wasn't the same when Donald Glover left.
It's true. So, there are just... It's weird, the things the show decides to focus on and care about and thinks that we're going to care about. Like, I was invested in Martha's family, and that doesn't happen for me. I don't care about people's families on shows most of the time, because usually families are written to be kind of either actively shitty or bland. But her family was a fun combo of, like, loving but also messy as fuck. Like, you could definitely see a fucking reality show, going on. Mm-hmm. So I really liked that. And when I saw that they were getting roped into this, I was like, oh shit, her family. What's going on with that? Like, we haven't seen that before. And then it just is so nothing. And her mother mistrusting the doctor the way that she does, but then she's just proven wrong. Just flat out wrong. And I would have kind of liked for her to be a little bit right about it. But instead she just wound up taking the side of the bad guy inadvertently. And so all of her judgment is lumped in with just, well, you got hoodwinked.
Yeah.
But I would have enjoyed it if it had been a little bit more like she maybe is a little harsh and doesn't understand all the details, but the plot went in such a direction that it probably would have been smarter for Martha if she had listened to her mom and just not got involved with this guy, because I just sort of want there to be a little bit more ambiguity with this dude. And they have him being literal Jesus at the end. Doesn't get much more unambiguous than that.
Yeah. Well,
I forgive you.
Listeners, I know it's not always fun to listen to an episode where we hate it, but they can't all be winners.
Between recording on this with you today and yesterday I recorded on the New Moon movie with Miles, it's been a real week for recording on terrible shit.
But motherfucking Michael Sheen.
Oh my god. That was
we spent
about 40 minutes just talking about him.
He's amazing.
Yep.
And I still don't even know how amazing he is in that movie because I have still resisted, but
I would just keep resisting.
Michael Sheen.
You don't need to. Michael Sheen is amazing and he's still not worth it.
Yeah, well, apparently Krista's going to make me some stickers that say that.
Yay. So. Yeah, I could have seen Michael Sheen being an amazing master. Like, can you imagine?
He had so much fun. I'm really surprised he's never been on this show that I know of. I don't remember ever seeing him on here. I don't think he has. He's pretty much been in everything, though, so it's possible I just forgot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he has been in a lot of stuff.
He's just such a fucking delight. I don't think he's been on this show, but if he has, it wasn't in the Tennant era because they met doing Good Omens.
Oh, was that the first time they ever met? Oh.
That's like the first, well, at least it's the first time they've worked together, but it sounds like from the podcast that David Tennant did with Michael Sheen that that's where they met, too.
I love it.
And they just get along so well, and I want more of them working together.
Yeah. Yeah, they really have great chemistry.
Yeah, and then just put Michael Sheen in everything because he's just the best.
To be honest, I really don't say this about white dudes almost ever, but you could probably put him in anything, and I'd just be glad he was there.
Yep.
He's just transcends that line for me.
He's amazing. He's absolutely amazing. I love that dude. So, yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I've still never seen any of the Twilight movies, and it's a proud point for me.
Yeah.
And I want to keep resisting, but the only thing that tempts me is Michael Sheen.
Wait for another one. Wait, watch one of them with us, but not New Moon. Don't do that one.
Is that one just especially bad? I'll wait and I'll listen to your episode.
I think it's especially bad, personally. I mean, it's
Miles had a lot to say about it in his live blogging.
The episode guys, this is a patrons only show. Me and Miles covering Twilight, and between each book, we're covering one of the movies for the books. And Miles has been really good about like reading these in good faith and trying to reserve judgment and really actually like getting involved with the characters and liking certain people and having investment in relationships. But we got to the end of the second book and he just about lost his mind because the end of the second book pretty much renders irrelevant the whole first half and makes you feel like you just wasted your time, and also erases all the character growth that you thought you were watching. And it's all for the sake of a horrible person with horrible like attitudes, and you just really want them to die and never come back. And he just was so enraged at the fact that he had been made to care about something, and then was feeling essentially like he was being laughed at by the author, which is kind of the vibe. And the movie is...
I remember nothing about this book, apparently, other than the cliff dive.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But suffice to say, it is bad as a book, but the movie can't even quite, because so much of the book is mental, the movie can't even quite do justice to that, which is already not good. So... it's just incredibly tedious, and it's over 2 hours long, and it really doesn't need to be that long. At all. At all. I don't know why they thought... Anyway. And Kristen Stewart, I have heard, is like a good actress in other things, but she is absolutely wooden in this to a degree.
She was miscast. I never quite understood why she got cast as Bella, and Bella doesn't have much of a personality in the books anyway. But Kristen Stewart, it seemed like, resented having to make these movies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I don't know why she signed up for them, because she is a good actress. She actually really is.
Robert Pattinson also hated being in them.
I know. And God, that guy is like so charming, and none of that comes off in the trailers that I've seen from those movies, you know?
Did you hear the story about how Robert Pattinson was being interviewed for the Twilight movies on the Today Show and lied about a clown dying?
No, God, that guy is so weird.
Okay, I'm not going to tell it. You'll have to listen to the episode to hear the whole thing. But it's a real wild ride, and it made me like Robert Pattinson a whole lot more, because it's just so like, there's just no reason to do it. He just did it because he just was like, nothing matters.
Yeah,
and
that sounds like him.
You know, like, I kind of can get behind that attitude.
I was a really big fan of him because of Goblet of Fire, which is a trash fire of a movie anyway, but I was just, like, full on in the Harry Potter fandom at the time. And when he was cast, and the casting of Cedric was a big thing, where everybody was like, oh my god, who are they going to cast? Because he's supposed to be super hot, and he's also supposed to be, like, really nice, and they cast this guy that none of us had ever heard of. Mm-hmm. And we were like, well, he's okay, he's cute, I guess, sure, whatever. And then seeing the movie, like, he was one of the only good things about that movie.
Yeah.
Where he had this, like, charm, and then his interviews were so fucking hilarious that it, like, made this, like, subgroup of the people that I associated with in the fandom, like, RPATs. Like, it was a thing where we were just like, he's the fucking best thing to ever happen. And it was just his personality he's so weird. He's such a weird person. And when he got cast as Edward, I was like, what are you doing? You're so much better than this.
He has this entrance that I was watching the movie the same night that Miles had, and Miles had already left all of his commentary on the Facebook group for patrons, and his entrance is so fucking hysterically over the top and so douchey and so like pretentious and just gross. And I like went to Facebook to find the thread because I was like, what did Miles say about this? Because I know he said something. And it was, he basically just wrote, oh my God, that entrance, he has killed me. I am slain. And, you know, that's, and anyway, you guys should listen to the patrons only stuff. It's good. It's a good time. And we're getting into the third book in the series next week, and it's really going to be something.
What's that one called?
Eclipse. That's right. I always do that. I constantly forget that there are 4 of them. No, there's 4. There's Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn.
What's the last one? Oh, Breaking Dawn. Oh, God. Breaking Dawn. Yeah, by the time I got to that book, I was like, I'm just going to fucking finish this to say I finished it. I was already done with those books. But if there was one more, and I was like, I'm going to read it. I got to know how it ends, because it's got to be ridiculous.
Yeah, looking back, I tore through the books when they were coming out, and I'm realizing now that I tore through them because nothing happens. It's just so drawn out for no reason.
I read Twilight on an airplane ride from LA to Rhode Island. Read the whole book in 4.5 hours.
Yeah, it just does not need to be what it is. Anyway, we spent more time talking about Twilight than we did about this episode, and I'm fine with that. It's fine.
That's fine. The next episode, it's like a clean slate.
It's a Christmas special again, right?
It is.
Yay!
Yeah.
I always like those.
We don't have any reviews, and I don't have any trivia. But I do have to say thank you to some people.
Yee!
A number of you lovely listeners donated to this GoFundMe that Krista set up for me so that I could get a photo taken with David Tennant and Catherine Tate and Freema Agyeman, I think is how you say her last name. Agyeman?
Don't know.
And I just want to say thank you so much. I'm very excited.
Yee!
So now I'm going to get to meet David Tennant twice. In one day. But twice. And it's just going to be really exciting. I'm going to wear my Dalek shirt, my unspoiled Dalek shirt, and hope that I can say a few words about the show and, you know, maybe entice 1 or 3 of them to listen and, you know, give us a call on Skype.
Nice.
We'll have you on.
Oh my God, that'd be so fun.
Yeah. But like from the bottom of my heart, guys, thank you so much, because I posted it on the main group after you posted that last week's episode was on patrons only, because I figured, you know, this will give it a couple of days now that the new episode's going to be released to everybody soon enough.
Right.
And within like an hour, it had gone over the ask amount. And I'm very touched and honestly surprised. So thank you so much.
I have said it a million times, and I will continue to say it. The Unspoiled fandom is the best fandom. Period.
It truly is. It truly is. And I'm usually one of the people that's like, yeah, let's do a GoFundMe. Like, Natasha needs a new computer. Let's get that going. And, like, contributing to those things because, to me, like, you deserve it. And I don't think of myself in that way. So for people to be like, no, you deserve this, I'm like, well, thank you.
Now you understand how, like, weird I always am, where I'm just like, yeah, I guess we could do... okay.
Yeah. Like, I wasn't going to make it myself. If someone, like, I told Krista, like, if you want to, I can't stop you. And she did it, and then people were, like, promoting it. And, like, my mom donated.
Aww.
And Jason's mom donated. And I was like, you guys, this is such a ridiculous thing. Thank you. I'm very excited. It's next weekend. So this may be the last time you hear from me. I might die.
I was about to say, what? Like, you're making it sound like they're fucking gonna, like, kidnap and murder you.
No, but my heart might just burst.
Aw. Well, I hope that your heart does not burst. I'm trying to think of something that I want you to say to David Tennant, but I can't think of anything.
You've got a week.
Yeah, I'm gonna come up with something.
Yeah, because there's David Tennant's actually doing 2 panels by himself, unfortunately. The one that's with Catherine and Freema, it says and maybe more. So I'm hoping he'll pop over for that one. But it doesn't say him specifically. But both of his, like, one is about his, like, regular work, and then one panel is about Doctor Who. So if there's any good questions, like, let me know, because I don't have any. I'm afraid if I open my mouth, I'll just be like, oh my God, I love you. Thank you for being a joy in my life.
I want to have your children.
I don't. It's not even like that, really. I just really, really love him, but I don't, like... Sometimes I think, like, you're kind of weird looking at times, and you're very, very skinny.
He's real skinny, yeah.
But I just think he's beautiful, and I think he's an amazing actor and such a good person. I just love him. He's just one of my favorite celebrities, that's all.
Maybe the first thing that you say to him, you should, like, really lick your lips super weirdly, like when he was Barty Crouch Jr., and just make it super uncomfortable and strange. And
maybe the first thing I should say to him is, the first thing I saw you in was Goblet of Fire, and I thought you were the worst actor I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that's definitely how you should start. Good call.
And now I think you're actually one of the best actors I've ever seen, but man, what was up with that performance? Please tell me that was all the director's fault.
Oh, God.
Why did you make these choices?
What?
Why do you make those choices? It's always going to bother me. I hate that movie.
Yeah, the movie's terrible. I don't know how both this time and in the Twilight recording this week, I got talking about Twilight, or about the fourth Harry Potter movie. I guess it's because Robert Pattinson. But,
and David Tennant.
But, yeah, I just have talked at length about how much I hate that movie, and it's not even the worst one, but it's so bad.
I think it is the worst one.
I think the sixth one's the worst one. But
oh, see, I actually had fun watching that. I hate that they left out everything important, but I thought it was a fun movie. But Goblet of Fire, I almost walked out in the first 5 minutes. So,
all right. So, can we wrap this?
Do you have anything to plug?
I don't have like. Oh, you know what? That's not true. Okay. I was on a Smash Fiction episode that will probably be out by the time this is out. I guessed it.
Did you have a good time?
I did. I had a really good time. I won't spoil you guys
Yay.
and tell you who won the match, but it was Professor Umbridge versus Madame Trunchbull from Tilda. And I was on the team for Trunchbull.
As being the worst?
It was, the premise is they're each assigned a school full of rowdy children and are going to be inspected. And which of them will be able to control their students and do the best at the inspection.
Okay.
And I wholeheartedly believe that Trunchbull would do much better at that than Umbridge, because Umbridge is a goddamn joke and a poser and pathetic. But, you know, you'll have to all see what went down with that. And for those of you who aren't aware, Smash Fiction is a podcast that Miles is on, and he does, I think, almost all of the editing for it. And he invited me on there and was on my team, and it is pitting two fictional characters against one another in specific scenarios every time that sort of lend themselves to whatever those characters have in common. And then before the end of the match, the judge who is deciding who wins this match throws a sort of monkey wrench out there and changes the scenario really suddenly. And you have to adapt what your argument is to the new scenario. And it's a pretty fun idea that I think is really, like, they've done a lot of really cool matches, but for me, Umbridge and Trunchbull, they're two, like, really terrifying ladies that are dear to my heart in their horrible ways. So I was really excited about this one. So yeah, listen to that episode of Smash Fiction.
I will.
Yeah, anything else, ma'am? We good?
No, I think we're good.
All right,
we went
guys.
a lot longer. I looked at my timer and was like, we're at 23 minutes and we have nothing left to say. How long is this episode going to end up being? And it's longer than I thought, so...
Yeah.
Thanks for hanging in, guys.
Guys, no thanks to all of you. I'm mad at every single one of you individually. Yes, I'm talking about you. And I hope that you guys can make it up to me. And unlike the Doctor and his, like, big moment, I do not forgive you. So, we'll see you next week. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.